Hi, hello and welcome to my channel, the ESG Hub. My name is Dr. Ankita Kashyap, PhD and MPhil in Sustainability. So, if you are interested to know about sustainability, ESG, CSR, you've come to the right channel. So, on this channel, I will be sharing everything related to ESG news, views, thoughts, and much more. So, in this particular video, I talk about what is ESG. You must have heard a lot about this term. There's a huge buzz around ESG. Everybody is talking about it, writing about it. There are so many newspapers these days about ESG. So let's dive right into it. ESG is an acronym. It stands for three things: environment, social, and governance. Now, when I say S, it stands for social, yes, and not sustainability. Now, the first question that arises in everybody's mind is that why should even a company be talking about ESG or doing anything with respect to these three pillars that we just said: environment, social, and governance? So, just by the existence or the presence of the company, it has an impact on all these three pillars. Now, let me give you an example. A company, due to its operations, is creating or leading to some kind of pollution in the atmosphere. What we call as greenhouse gas emissions are being produced. When it deals with its employees, then they are touching upon a very important stakeholder group, the human resources, and that means that it has an impact on them as well. Then, how is the organization dealing with the customers, the grievances around their consumers, and in general, how is the company conducting its operations? So that's something that just by the virtue of company's presence and existence, it has an impact on all these factors. So that is when the ESG comes into play. So what's the role of ESG in all this? Now, ESG is there to lay down the systems and procedures to understand the impact of the company, right? And if I can just break it down more, you can see that ESG is more like a framework. It serves as a tool to assess the impact of the company on all these three aspects, which is environment, social, and governance factors. And to top it up, ESG can also be looked at as a potential risk and opportunity assessment tool. Now, you'll say, what are the various risks and opportunities if we're talking about ESG? So, there could be many. Let me give you an example here. Now, when we say that the climate is fluctuating so much now, it's become warm in certain parts, it rains anytime, there are flash floods that take place. So we are talking about fluctuation in the climate, the weather patterns are changing. So that can be a potential risk to a business in terms of its geographical location, in terms of its operations. So assessing those risks is also a part of ESG. And then various opportunities like and now we are hearing a lot about e-vehicles. We are hearing a lot about renewable energy. So these are certain aspects which could be looked at from an opportunity perspective of how businesses can develop their business models around these aspects. To give you an example here, very recently Volkswagen kind of contributed 1 billion euros in the renewable energy projects. So that is, as a business model, they are thinking about the opportunity that comes for the organization. So ESG is that particular tool which not only assesses the impact of the organization on environment, social, and governance, but also provides a risks and opportunity assessment tool with respect to all these factors. Now, let us try and take each of these three acronyms, E, S, and G, one by one to understand these factors in more detail. So the first that we touch upon is the environmental factors. Now, environmental factors means what is the broad effect or the influence that the organization has on the environment as a whole. And there could be potential challenges that the organization face or various environmental concerns that it faces. And all of this together is what we call as the environmental factors. So when we say environmental factors, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind is with respect to climate change. Now, when I say climate change, one particular entity which stands out for climate change is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. This is a United Nations body. It comes out with its predictions, with its assessment about climate change. It talks about the science that is related to climate change. It reports on that, it assesses it, and comes out with an annual report. So even this year, it has come out with its annual report 6, and it states and shows the glaring consequences that we can have if this is all not taken very seriously by us as individuals and also by the organization. And in this year's report, it shows that the scale of taking climate change action seriously is not at that level that it should have been. And what you see on the screens are certain glaring pictures of what our earth could be if the right kind of actions for climate change is not taken up. This has been shown to us in this particular report that I'm referring to. So the last two pictures that you see on your screen are the red hot pictures of the earth, and it just tries to show that any inactivity in tackling the climate change can lead to our temperatures soaring up to +3, +4 degrees Celsius from here onwards, making this place absolutely inhabitable for human survival. So climate change is one. Next, we'll talk about another factor within this environmental domain is reducing the greenhouse gas emissions, which is also a very important and a key topic under the environmental factors. Then it also talks about environmental factor will also talk about what kind of practices does the organization have in place to reduce the waste, or how does it manage the waste within the organization. Is there some waste management programs that you have? Is there a segregation between hazardous, non-hazardous waste, and everything around that? Another very important topic under the environmental factors is energy efficiency. Now, various energy efficiency practices can be taken up within the organization, from as simple as what we call as LED lighting to installing probably smart thermostats within the organization, using Energy Star rated appliances, encouraging employees to carpool to the organization, in the distribution and transportation side, using e-vehicles for the distribution. So various other initiatives can also be taken up when we say energy efficiency practices. More to this could also be alternative sources of fuels can be used. Like we are talking a lot about ethanol these days. So if the organization can incorporate that within the operations, they can rely on certain renewable energy like solar, wind energy wherever possible. So all this would be within the environmental aspects. Okay, let's delve into the second pillar now, which is the social aspect. Now, what does the S aspect talks about in ESG? And yes, again, I reiterate that S stands for social and not sustainability. In my next video, I'll try and explain what is sustainability, how is it different from ESG, or how is it similar to it. But for now, let's stick to the social pillar. So what is the S aspect? Now, S aspect, as I mentioned before, is to do with the stakeholders. How the organization is affecting the different stakeholder groups that it comes in contact with. To begin with, it comes in contact with its own internal stakeholders, that is the employees. So is the organization taking care of the employee benefits? Are there any welfare programs or activities that the organization is undertaking? So that will be one part of it. And various other activities that the organization has towards employees. But quick parameters and criteria, whether all your programs for the employees motivation, satisfaction, is it doing well within the organization or not, or what is the absenteeism rate that the organization have, what is the kind of turnover that it has, are the employees satisfied, is there a good culture within the organization. And a higher turnover would definitely mean that the culture of the organization is not supportive, or the employees are not feeling connected to the organization, and that would kind of signal that some radical changes or improvements needs to be made within the organization. So such quick parameters can help you assess the efficiency and the effectiveness of the S aspects also that you're following, for particularly for your employees. Now, S aspect also includes aspects like diversity, equality, inclusion. DEI is what it stands for, and you must have heard about this term somewhere or the other. Let's try and see what it means. Now, when we say diversity, which is D, it not only means gender representation, but it also means that you are hiring people with different specializations, with different cultural backgrounds, to kind of make your organization have different perspectives from all these people that come together and put their forces towards making the organization a success. And in this, we also say that there has to be equality, which means that all these people who are coming from diverse skill sets, diverse backgrounds, are treated equally and there's no discrimination on that front. And on the equality, we also say a very big component is a gender pay parity. So, people at the same organization, irrespective of their gender, should be paid equally for the equal work that they are doing. That's the key to what we say is the gender pay parity, right? And diversity, equality, okay, great. But what is inclusion? Inclusion is not merely diverse or different representations. It is about making everybody, all the people that you've hired from different backgrounds, from different skill sets, feeling welcomed within the organization, feeling respected, feeling empowered at what they are doing within the organization, and giving them a liberty to participate within the organization, contributing more equitably, making it a more comprehensive and a cohesive unit within the organization is what we call as inclusion. Now, a beautiful example that I would like to give here is a recent Mahindra and Mahindra's maternity policy that they've come out with. Now, when we say ESG, the most misconception that people have, oh, is there any regulation around it? Is there a law? But ESG is all about doing something more voluntarily. And that makes me come back to my point of the M&M case where they've come with a maternity policy. Now, the legal regulation may only be to give them a 6 months maternity policy, but they have gone all out and built a 5-year maternity policy. This is an excellent example where the women workforce will feel kind of included. They talk about flexible working hours. They talk about how the women promotions and positions will not be undermined just because they had to go on a maternity leave. So it's a detailed maternity policy, very good to read and good to know that bigger organizations are taking this seriously, coming to the forefront, and others to follow definitely. Right. Now, talking about the social factors, a very important part here is also about looking at your customers, the suppliers. You're also looking at the government entities as other stakeholders within the S aspect. And a very important part is also played by the community in which the company is actually operating. So, community in today's time is not only about handing donations or doing a good philanthropic activity by, let's say, giving some monetary help to a educational institute or to a health institute, which is all great and should be done. But the essence of community well-being is more and beyond this now. It is more on the lines of, I would say, an active engagement with the community. For example, if I can give you an example here, like probably upskilling the rural population where the company might have their operations and providing them with that kind of employment opportunity within your operation facilities. That is something that you are reaching out to the community, and this particular community where you are offering them skills, you're offering them training opportunities, and you're also offering them employment opportunities will always remain true to the organization and will come in very helpful. Looking at the broader picture as well. Right, so this is about the social aspect of ESG. Now, having looked at the environmental aspects and the social aspect, we jump on to another major pillar which we call as the backbone of the concept of ESG, which is the governance aspect. Now, what does governance aspect of ESG mean? The governance aspect focuses on what are the policies and practices that have been put into place by the organization. So, broadly speaking, holistically, how is the organization being run? How is it being directed, controlled, and whether the right kind of practices are put into place for its smooth functioning or not, is basically what the governance aspect talks about. So, what all does it include? It involves what is the structure and the functioning of the company's board of directors. And now, when I say structure and functioning, again, we are not only talking about diversity, we are also talking about the right skill sets. We are talking about the educational backgrounds that they are coming from, the specializations that they bring to the organization. Then other aspects will be ensuring that the executive compensation is fair and reasonable, whether this compensation is being directly linked to the sustainability goals that the organization has, what is the overall decision making process within the organization, what is the overarching role and responsibilities of the board of directors, is something that all comprises in the governance factor. Then another very important aspect is the regulatory compliances. Yes, I mentioned that ESG goes above and beyond the regulatory compliances, but it also focuses on whether you are meeting all the basic requirements to begin with, like all these laws with respect to the environment law, with respect to the labor laws. All these laws are being satisfied within the organization. That will become a part of your governance aspects. Um, Another very prominent aspect that I would want to touch upon is with respect to cyber security and data privacy. And this has become more relevant in today's time where we are going digital, everything is available on fingertips. So the data privacy becomes, of utmost importance and significance for the organization. Here I would want to give you this case. I'm pretty sure you're aware of how this breach of privacy happened in case of the Facebook users, where this consulting firm, UK based consulting firm, which is Cambridge Analytica, predominantly they use the personal data of the Facebook users for political advertising, and there was a lot of backlash that happened to Facebook because of this. So these are certain complications and certain kind of aspects that can come up if governance aspects are not taken into consideration. Then we also have other cases. Governance aspects have actually kind of raised various red flags for the organizations, so that's the reason I call this the backbone. These are supposed to be sacrosanct and not compromised in any way. Having said that, not saying E and S are not important aspects, but I would say that G is something that lays the foundation of this pyramid. And if your foundation of the organization is strong, it is built on transparent policies, it is built on good ethos of the organization, the mission vision statements are something that build a culture within the organization of accountability, of responsibility, then the E and the S aspects, when taken into consideration, falls into place. Now, another example that I can give you for the governance failure is what we all know, be it the Arthur Anderson case, or be it what we saw how the Satyam scandal happened. So, corporate governance in that sense, it highlights that whether the leadership is doing right, is it going in the right direction, and all steps are being taken into consideration to ensure the smooth conduct and the right business dealings of the organization. Having talked about the governance, I would want to quickly add here that the economic dimension that we talk about is closely related to governance, and at times in various ESG guidelines and principles, you'll see these two aspects getting clubbed together under the G aspect. So, when we say economic dimension, this is the financial terms that we mean. So, the answerability to your investors, to your shareholders, is all your economic dimension. It includes your rate of return, it will include sales, EBITDA, and all the financial accounting performance parameters that we have will be under the economic dimension. And when we say economic, a very important part is also an indirect economic impact that has been created. Now, just to understand this a bit better, an indirect economic impact could be a positive or a negative impact. I'll give you an example here. Let's say the productivity of the organization increased when it started adopting information technology within the organization. So that's an indirect economic impact that it had. Or let's say because of the usage of a particular product that the organization produces, the economic growth took place. So that is again an indirect quantification of the economic impact that the organization has. So, this is where I stop today. I hope you understood a bit of ESG better than what you knew when you joined this video of mine. If you like this, please hit the like button. You can also subscribe to my channel. I will be coming up with various ESG related topics, news, views, and much more. Thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.